Hey, what's up, guys? So let's solve this 164 called maximum gap. Yeah, hope you guys subscribe to my channel. Yeah, so my channel do physics, mathematics, abstract mathematics, and whatever mathematics. And sometimes since I'm practicing my coding, so sometimes I post the code solution basically based on my understanding. Yeah, so given an integer array, nums return maximum difference between two successful in the sorted forms. So for example, the answer is 3 for this case, because if you sorted array, you get 1, 3, 6, 9, right? So this is 2, 3, 3. So you need to return the maximum, okay? The idea is that which is 10 to a negative 5, right? So you cannot, I guess you can sort it, right? But the problem is that if you sort it, you take n log n, and the problem say that you must write an algorithm that runs in O n, and using linear extra space, so you cannot do sorting, okay? And the number is still 10 to the 9, right? So which prevents you use the count sort. So basically, if you want to use a merge sort, which is n log n, it's not okay. If you use a count sort, which is n plus k, right? But now k is so large, 10 to the 9, right? So it seems like you cannot find answer. Okay, so the idea is to use the bucket sort. Okay. Okay, but actually, I think the bucket sort is not so important. Right? The idea is using the pigeonhole principle. Okay, so the idea is that what is the, so let me just ask a question. What is the minimum answer? A minimum possible answer. You can say the minimum possible answer is 0, right? Because there may be a case that everyone is the same, right? But let's just try to solve this so this is trivial, right? But we need to have some more finer lower bound. Okay, so the idea is that let's say G be the answer of maximum gap. So let's say G is the maximum. Let's say G is the answer. So G is a maximum gap. Okay. Then what you mean is that suppose let's imagine that you sorted, right? So the smallest one is M. And the second one, right? So second one, A2, then must less or equal to M plus G, right? Because G is a maximum gap. And A3 must be less or equal to M plus 2G. And up to M, right? This is the maximum. So this maximum M must be less or equal to M plus N minus 1G, which N is the length of the array. So now you get a lower bound. You get a lower bound of G, which is greater than or equal to M divided by M, minus 1, and then you can take the ceiling. Okay, so basically you prove that you can easily find a minimum answer, right? Because you just, if you want to find a maximum and minimum, this just take all one time. So now you already find a gap. You already find a lower bound of the gap, right? So for example, this 1, 3, 6, 9, your G will equal to A divided by 3. Take this, so it becomes 3. Okay, so this 3 is the answer that it's not in this case it's just the answer, right? But we just prove that the G cannot be less or equal to 3. Okay, so now we can use the bucket sort and choose the size. Let's say, so choose each bucket with size 3. Okay. So now here is a trick, right? So now let's find a minimum and create the size, create a bucket. Okay, so the bucket looks like so we have 4 bucket. Okay, why we have 4 bucket, right? Because the size is 3, right? So you start from 1. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and probably you don't need this. Okay. Okay, so now you put one put in here. You put 3 point here, you put 6 point here, you put 9 point here. Okay, but what is the answer? Right, the answer must be the minimum. The answer must be the minimum of this bucket minus the previous bucket, a maximum of the previous bucket. So the answer can be 3, and it must be or this. Okay, why this is the answer? Because I already proved that g greater or equal to 3. So each 2 element in the bucket cannot give you the answer, right? Because I already proved that g must greater or equal to the lower bound. So the answer must be the maximum of the previous bucket minus minimum of the bucket. Let's say this is I bucket. Okay, so it's the minimum of the bucket I minus the maximum of that previous bucket. Okay, provided that if the minimum, provided if the bucket is non-empty, right? If it's empty, then I don't care, right? So for example, maybe there is something here and then something here, and all of these are empty. Then I only need this difference. So I need the minimum minus the previous maximum, provided if they are non-empty. Okay, that's it. Okay, so basically find a gap and then do the bucket sort. Okay, so the answer, the algorithm just find a gap and do the bucket sort. And use minimum minus maximum, which is I and -1 if they are non-empty. And what you do is you find a maximum of this, right? This is the maximum gap. Okay, so this is linear time because you use bucket sort. Okay. So let's say answer is length, and then if n less than or equal to 2, then you return the maximum and the minimum, right? Because you only have 2 numbers, so you just do this. And let's say maximum and minimum to be the max and min, and you can find the bucket. So this is the size of bucket, and you can find the size of the how many of bucket, right? So their difference +1. Okay. So in our case, in the first case, we have like 3 buckets as I draw, right? Because 9 minus 1, 8 divided by 3 is 2, right? +1. And then you initialize each bucket minimum to be infinity and maximum to be negative infinity. Okay, then you go through. First, you find the index S, which is a number of buckets. So I minus minimum divided by bucket. This is standard bucket sort. And you change the minimum and maximum. Okay, so these times these are all trivial. Okay, so finally you initialize the answer to be negative infinity, and then you define a pre-max to be bucket z max. Okay, and then you do the step. If the minimum is non-empty, then you can use the previous formula, basically bucket minus previous max, and the update with answer, and the pre-max becomes bucket max. Then return the answer. Basically, this is just what I described. Okay, so this problem is hard because hard to think out this problem, but once you understand, it should be very simple, just using the pendulum principle. See you guys in next videos.